The heavy oak door creaked open, and Amir hesitated, his calloused hand gripping the worn edge of his taxi driver's cap. The mansion loomed before him, its marble steps gleaming under the evening sun, chandeliers sparkling through tall windows. He glanced at the crumpled letter in his pocket, its gold-embossed seal smudged from days of rereading. "Mr. Amir Khan, you are cordially invited," it read, but no name, no explanation, just an address in a part of the city he'd only driven through, never entered. His boots, scuffed from years on gas pedals, felt out of place on the polished stone. Why him, a cabbie with nothing but a beat-up sedan and a stack of unpaid bills? The air smelled of jasmine and wealth, a world apart from the diesel fumes of his nightly routes. Inside, a woman stood in a tailored blazer, her smile warm but familiar in a way that tugged at his memory. "You don't remember me, do you?" she said, her voice soft but steady. Amir's heart skipped. Those eyes! He'd seen them before, years ago, in the dim glow of his cab's dashboard, pleading, desperate, unable to pay. "Lena?" he whispered. She nodded, stepping closer. "You changed my life, Amir. Now it's my turn." The moment hung heavy, charged with a past he'd forgotten and a future he couldn't imagine. Amir's mind raced back to that rainy night, the girl in the back seat, her backpack clutched tight, her voice trembling as she admitted she had no cash. He'd waved it off, paid the fare from his own pocket, told her to focus on her studies. Just another night, another fare, until now. Lena's eyes shimmered with gratitude, but there was something else, something bigger. The room behind her buzzed with people, their gazes fixed on him, waiting. A table held a velvet folder, paper stacked neatly, and a single key glinting under the chandelier's light. "This isn't just a thank you," Lena said, her voice breaking. "This is everything you deserve." Amir's throat tightened. He'd driven thousands of miles, carried countless strangers, but this was a destination he'd never expected. His hand hovered over the key, the weight of the moment pressing down. What had he done to earn this? And what was waiting beyond that folder? The answer stood before him, in the face of a girl who hadn't forgotten, who'd carried his kindness like a torch through the years. The late-night fare. Amir's taxi rattled through the city at 2 a.m., the neon lights of downtown blurring past his windshield. Rain streaked the glass, and the radio crackled with a late-night talk show he barely heard. His eyes, heavy from a 12-hour shift, scanned the empty streets. Another night, another grind. Bills piling up at home, his daughter's school fees overdue. A figure waved from the corner, hunched under a dripping hood. Amir pulled over, tires splashing in the gutter. The door opened, and a young woman slid into the back seat, her backpack soaked, her face pale. "Union Square, please," she said, voice small. Her name was Lena, a college student, her eyes red from crying or exhaustion, maybe both. At the drop-off, she fumbled in her bag, then froze. I don't have enough," she stammered, shame coloring her cheeks. Amir glanced at the meter, $12.50. His own wallet held barely enough for gas, but something in her eyes, fear, maybe hope, stopped him. "Don't worry," he said, voice gruff but kind. Lena's lips parted, but no words came. She nodded, clutching her bag, and slipped out into the rain. Amir watched her disappear into the night, her silhouette fading under the streetlights. He didn't think much of it, just another fare, another choice to do what felt right. The city hummed around him, indifferent, as he shifted gears and drove on. His dashboard clock blinked 2:17 a.m. His wife Aisha would be asleep by now, the kids sprawled on their tiny apartment's couch. He thought of his daughter, Noor, who dreamed of college but might not afford it. The $12.50 stung, but letting Lena walk away empty-handed would have stung more. He turned up the radio, drowning out the doubt. The city didn't care about small acts of kindness, and neither did his bank account. but as he pulled into the next pickup, a quiet warmth settled in his chest. Lena's face lingered in his mind, her gratitude a flicker of light in the long night. He didn't know her story, didn't need to. He'd done what he could. The road stretched on, and so did he, unaware that this moment would echo far beyond the rain-soaked streets. The quiet sacrifice. The next day, Amir woke to the smell of Aisha's chai simmering in their cramped kitchen. His back ached from the night shift, but he smiled as Noor bounded in, her school books tucked under her arm. Amir chuckled, but the weight of the unpaid bills on the counter pressed harder. The $12.50 he'd let go last night wasn't just a fare. It was half a grocery run, a quarter of Noor's textbook fee. Still, he didn't regret it. Lena's face, her quiet thank you as she left the cab, had felt like enough. Days turned into weeks, and the memory of that night faded. Amir kept driving, picking up drunks, tourists, and tired workers, each fare blending into the next. Sometimes he wondered about Lena. Did she make it home safe? Did she pass her exams? But the city was too big, the nights too long for such thoughts to linger. One evening, months later, Amir found a crumpled note in his glove box, scribbled in shaky handwriting. "I owe you, taxi man, Lena." He stared at it, the memory rushing back. She'd slipped it onto the seat before leaving, promising to repay him someday. He smiled, tucking it back among receipts and spare change. Repayment wasn't why he'd done it. His father's voice echoed in his mind. "Help where you can, Amir. The world keeps score." He didn't believe in cosmic scorecards, not really, but he believed in doing right. The note stayed in the glove box, a quiet reminder of a moment that felt small but heavy. Amir drove on, the city's pulse matching his own, steady, relentless, unseen. He didn't know Lena was out there, carrying his kindness like a seed, waiting for the right moment to bloom. Years of grind. 5 years passed, each one blurring into the next. Amir's hair grayed at the temples, his taxi's engine groaned louder, and the bills never stopped coming. Noor was in high school now, her dreams of college growing bigger than their apartment could hold. Aisha took extra shifts at the diner, and Amir drove longer hours, the city streets his second home. He'd long forgotten Lena's note, buried under new receipts and repair bills. The taxi smelled of coffee and worn leather, a rolling record of his life's work. Some nights he'd park by the river, watching the lights dance on the water, wondering if this was all there was. He didn't complain. Aisha called him stubborn for it, but the weight of the years pressed hard. Kindness didn't pay the rent, and the city didn't reward invisible men. Yet Amir kept going, offering free rides to strangers, sharing snacks with late-night passengers, listening to their stories. He didn't expect anything back. His father's words still lingered, but hope was harder to hold on to. One winter night, a letter arrived, slipped under the apartment door. Gold-embossed, heavy paper, addressed to Mr. Amir Khan. Aisha raised an eyebrow as Amir opened it, reading the formal invitation to a mansion uptown. No sender's name, just a date and time. A scam, Aisha said, but Aisha's gut said otherwise. Something about the letter felt familiar. He folded it carefully, his fingers tracing the seal. The city had never called him to a mansion before. What was waiting there? Amir stood outside the mansion, his taxi parked awkwardly among sleek SUVs. The address was real, too real. The estate sprawled across a gated lot, its iron fence draped in ivy. He adjusted his cap, feeling small under the towering columns. The letter had said 7 p.m., and his watch read 6:55. He clutched the paper, its edges worn from days of doubt. Aisha had laughed, saying only rich people sent invites like this, but Aisha couldn't shake the pull to go. He knocked, and the door opened to a grand foyer, marble floors gleaming, a chandelier casting light like scattered stars. A woman approached, her heels clicking softly. "Mr. Khan," she said. Amir nodded, words caught in his throat. She was young, poised, her eyes sharp with something he couldn't place. "Follow me," she said.
leading him through halls lined with art he couldn't afford to look at. The air smelled of polished wood and flowers, a far cry from his cab's diesel haze. Guests in suits and dresses mingled, their laughter soft but distant. Amir felt their eyes, curious, not unkind, but still foreign. The woman stopped at a study, its walls lined with books. A velvet folder sat on a desk, next to a single brass key. "You don't remember me," she said, smiling. Amir's breath hitched. Those eyes! He knew them. "Lena," he said, the name pulling a thread from years ago. She nodded, her smile widening. "You gave me more than a ride that night, Amir." The moment hung heavy, charged with a past he'd forgotten and a future he couldn't imagine. Amir's mind raced back to that rainy night. The girl in the back seat, her backpack clutched tight, her voice trembling as she admitted she had no cash. He'd waved it off, paid
the familiar face. Lena's words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Amir stood frozen, the memory of that rainy night flooding back. The girl in his cab, broke and scared, now stood before him, a woman commanding a room of wealth and power. Her blazer was tailored, her posture confident, but her eyes held the same spark he'd seen 5 years ago. "You paid my fare," Lena said, her voice steady but emotional. "I was one bad night from dropping out. Your kindness kept me going." Amir shook his head, embarrassed. "It was nothing," he said, "just a ride." Lena laughed softly. "It was everything. I got my degree, built a company, because you believed in me when I didn't." She gestured to the folder. "This is for you." Amir's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside were documents, a deed, a contract, a scholarship fund for Noor, and a check with too many zeros. "I'm giving you the community center you always talked about," Lena said, "a place for kids like me, funded forever." Amir's eyes burned. He'd mentioned his dream in passing that night, a throwaway thought. She'd remembered. The room seemed to shrink, the guests' chatter fading. Lena took his hand. "You didn't just save me, Amir. You showed me what kindness looks like." The grand gesture. Amir stared at the papers, his mind reeling. A community center, his dream, scribbled on the edges of his life, now real. The check alone could clear his debts, send Noor to college, let Aisha rest. But the center, that was bigger than him. Lena explained. A building in the heart of the city, designed to teach kids coding, art, anything to keep them off the streets. "Your name's on it," she said, "the Amir Khan Center." He tried to speak, but his throat closed. He saw his father's face, heard his words about the world keeping score. Maybe it did. Lena led him to a window, pointing to a vacant lot visible in the distance. "That's where it starts," she said. "Ground breaks next month." The guests, now gathered, raised glasses in a quiet toast. Amir felt their respect, not pity. Lena had told them his story, not just the fare, but the countless rides, the late-night listens, the unseen kindnesses. "You're not invisible anymore," she whispered. Amir clutched the key, its weight grounding him. He thought of Noor, who'd inherit more than debt now. He thought of Aisha, who'd smile wider than ever. The room blurred through tears, but for the first time, they were tears of joy. A legacy of kindness. Amir drove home that night, the city lights softer somehow. The folder sat on the passenger seat, the key taped to its cover. Aisha was waiting, her eyes wide as he told her everything. Noor ran in, hugging him so tight he laughed through the ache in his chest. "Baba, you're a hero," she said. He shook his head. "Just a driver." But the words felt lighter now. The next morning, he parked at the lot Lena had shown him. It was empty, cracked asphalt and weeds, but he saw it. Classrooms, laughter, kids like Lena finding their way. He pulled the old note from his glove box, Lena's shaky handwriting still clear. "I owe you." She'd paid it back, not with money, but with a legacy. Weeks later, the center's groundbreaking drew a crowd. Amir stood beside Lena, Aisha, and Noor, watching the first shovel hit the dirt. The city felt different now,
Not a grind, but a place where kindness could build something lasting. Lena leaned over. "Keep driving, Amir. Someone else needs you." He nodded, knowing he would. The story ended, but its echo didn't. Kindness wasn't a moment, it was a movement. And somewhere, someone watching this story might just pay it forward too.